see in this presentation. I thought at 6 p.m. it will be a very boring presentation if it only consisted of figures, because figures per se are difficult to remember. So let's build something. In this presentation, we'll try to build step by step a bot network like it's done by those who visit underground farms to start making some money, illegal money in the net. So first thing, when people try to get involved in some illegal activities in the web, they first try to conceal their actual name, location, personal data, so that no law enforcement agencies could find them. Now it's easily done. Many of you now, going every day into the web, hear about VPN services, making it possible to conceal any personal data by compromising the traffic. And this is actually what many of those who are involved in compromising data usually do. They use, in this case, VPN services. In this slide, we see some of the services which we consider as services offering their services to people involved in illegal network activities. On this slide you see some main services offering their services, like service hide.io. Many people use it also to hide their personal data, because these services guarantee that when law enforcement bodies penetrate into their office, they will not see any logs or activities in resources. Here is another example. This is one of crypted VPN services. They advertise themselves in different sites under different names, just to show to everybody that they exist everywhere under different names. Here you see a screenshot with data on underground activities. You see the nicknames, and these people, they service this network, and they have been involved in these activities since 2010. And we know that these people offer their services to forum activists trying to hide their location using APN tunnels. The cost of such a service is only $25 a month. Could be $2 or $3 more or less, and you have a completely secure channel via which you can control your bot network, having access to CNC server, and in this case you can be nearly 100% sure, unless you make any mistakes on your bot, any data on your visiting some illegal servers will not become known to law enforcement agencies. This is an old Soviet times slogan or poster saying the people's dreams have come true. Yeah, because everybody has always dreamt of having everything quick, simple and stable. Even if somebody's trying to organize some very complex software combinations, everybody wants it quick and simple and long-lasting. Let's take A simple
Данный конструктор
constructor for botnet construction in Zeus.
имеет множество модификаций.
It has lots of modifications, lots of versions, lots of clones. And if a person wants to compile a botnet, you can do it yourselves right now. Just Google, in the search engine, you'll find lots of forums where you can buy Zeus in different versions. The price is quite democratic, $165, and not only you receive the core of the system, but you also get monthly updates and support. 24 hours, 7 days a week support is also good to have. And distinguished audience, I'd like to draw your attention to this sign, which should mean for you one thing. People coming into this business are not always highly qualified experts in this area. They don't have to be. Having somebody understanding a little bit the principles of building such systems and networks, they can actually order services to have somebody build a system for them. I know, for instance, as an expert in this, but if my neighbor wants to construct a botnet, he can always find people who will do that for him for a very small amount of money, because this is now a mass market service. You can find these services available in various places at low prices, and it all works. Here's an interesting diagram. It shows that the prices for botnet assembly kits are very democratic. Look at the prices in 2009 and 10. The prices were much higher. Now the curve is quite dependent on what type of kit you buy, what kind of network you want, but the price is quite relevant. A sniper hits from afar, but he's always accurate. That's about bulletproof hosting, because they say that they are abuse-proof. They have lots of options, and if you want your own network, you need to use these abuse-proof hostings, because if you choose a simple hosting, your project will be immediately blocked. The hoster will block you very quickly. If you locate your servers with abuse-proof servers, you can sleep tight when somebody is going to complain of the server. They say they are abuse-proof. Bulletproof hostings are quite accessible. Here you see the most popular ones. Many of them have various names. They can have different names for the same hosting, just to enhance sales. Here's an interesting slide. This is Russian Business Network. This is a network, the so-called network, which was uncovered a few years ago by Brian Krebs, and he wrote about it a lot. There were people tracking their IP addresses, watching their activities. You will see the IP address in the slide and the list of their domain names, which we compared to our database. We see there are still parts of Russian business network that are still available and selling their services without any problems whatsoever. The price of abuse-proof server for your botnet is very close to normal hosting price if you do it legally, which means that the offer in the market is enormous. There are lots of services claiming that they offer bulletproof hosting. So that you can be completely sure of your data. You will have on your server so that child pornography, stolen credit card data and other things can be easily hosted there, and the owners of these data can be sure they will not be revealed. $52 is nothing for support of so much data, 24 hours, 7 days a week support and bulletproof check. It's when the hoster checks its IP addresses against blacklists of companies, which is a good service, and it also double checks it against search engine blacklists. If an IP address is in a blacklist, they can easily change the IP address for another one so that your system works perfectly well. $52 for this isn't much money now for such a service, right? In 2009, the prices were completely different. You see the 2009 price. It's about $350. Now the price dropped a lot. The blue curve is the curve we draw for the botnet constructor, botnet kits earlier. Who the national income goes to? It goes to those who have the hardware, the exploit kits, the configurations, and other packs. How can I say it in Russian? Exploit kit. Let's call it exploit kit. In the previous presentation, we saw a mention of prices, and the guy suggested I talk about prices. Okay, there are various exploit kits. Let's talk Phoenix. This is one of the most commonly used exploit kit. Of course, there will be definitely somebody who will say that this isn't true. And as a person watching the way botnet can be built, I guess this is a very good way of having an exploit kit and abusing the wide vulnerabilities, getting into the net. And this exploit kit is very good to take advantage of various vulnerabilities of various systems. The exploit kit sometimes has an interface to see some hosted client defense, and using this interface, here you can see a screenshot of one of the interfaces we could get access to. I won't tell you how we got access to this screenshot, but we see that they very well can penetrate your defense. The price of an exploit kit is about $160, again inclusive of 24 hours, 7 days a week support by third parties, which in some cases know much better than you what should be done anyway. So you can be sure that whatever happens, if you have no idea what to do, you'll have full support, supports problem solving and so on.
Недавно вышел
Not long ago,
exploit kit, который упоминал
an
в прошлой
exploit kit
коллега.
was launched, which was mentioned by the previous guys, Andromeda
Это один из
public,
скриншотов
and this is one of screenshots
системы, где человек,
our
который
system
продает
got.
замечен
The
в своей
person
активности,
selling it started the activities in 2010,
занимался не только
and
эксплуатацией
not only he dealt an exploit kit, but did other activities as well. Look at the prices.
$7000
$7,000
Что это
for
значит?
the
Это значит то,
source
что
code.
у кого будет $7000,
It means that those who have $7,000 will be able to buy source code several times, it can be different people, and upgrade the kit into an upgraded system. New names with new modules will appear working better,
на странице, которые будут эксплуатировать эти уязвимости довольно-таки удачно и
successfully collecting information on clients entering the site. It's not a very big price for those who have been active in underground resources for a long time. They can afford buying the source code, and they can modify it either using their own brains or somebody else's. It's doable. The price of an exploit kit is shown in yellow, but it's a conditional price. It's an average price of various exploit kits that have existed and exist now. So the price does not matter, the trend does. You see that the prices are always dropping because the offer is increasing. The fine-tuning methods become simpler. You can buy several ones and use them in combination. In any case, you can guarantee increasing your botnet depending on the quality of traffic that will be sent to the page with exploit.
Когда люди работают
When people
на автотранспорте, они обычно
work on trucks, they usually, when they drive trucks, very often they don't quite abide by the rules. I see in my daily activities that people trying to build a botnet, they don't use domain names which make their resource easily movable from one resource to another if needs be. They sometimes omit important things when fine-tuning their botnet. And this is good for fast flags domain. If you are a knowledgeable developer, if you can order fast plug system for your botnet, you can register your domain names and packs. Antivirus vendors will only be puzzled because you'll always be ahead of them, because you'll know that your botnet is very well protected by several domain names. I'm not going to comment this slide very much, but I can tell you one important thing. It doesn't really matter what country's domain names you would like to use, because you can buy groups of domain names. There are organizations that can automate any process for this. In this slide, you can see several providers. I'm not saying all of them are bad, but their technology is sometimes used for doing bad things. And like I said, you always have to look a step ahead in order to build your botnet technically correctly, thinking of all possible issues you may have. The price of registration of domain names is,
зависит
again,
очень сильно от
depending
конкретного
on the
имени,
domain name and whatever else, is around 20 bucks. Depends on the country granting you the domain name. Depends on the method of registration. But talking about total figures, you can have a couple of domains at a time and start using them the same moment. What else is important? You need to hide your personal data, because in majority of cases, their names, these names and data are published via whois service. And what I showed you, you can show any data on when registering domain names.
Это очень интересная часть моего доклада.
Quality, that's an interesting part of my presentation. I work in an antivirus producer company. I come across these things very often and I'd like to tell you about this. There are files
Создается плохими ребятами,
which
которые
are
используются для
made by bad guys that will be used for initial compromising, for initial infection of client's hardware. If the file is not protected in any way, it's easily detectable by any antivirus software. For signatures, for functions, and if somebody decides to build a botnet and just uses a dropper which was included in ZeoSpec, this file will be detected by the antivirus software, and the infecting your client's system will not be successful. What do underground guys do? They encrypt the files. It's not exactly encrypting, but we have the term, and let me use it in my presentation. These files, there will be changed the way that the file signature changes, the file structure changes, and then the antivirus companies will have no way to detect the files based on some other features. The encryption sometimes happens only once. What it means? If an encryption has taken place, the file is posted in the web. The antivirus system doesn't see the file, and the file infects the client's hardware, and it gets into an botnet. There are special services for encrypting files. They are available. You can Google them or find in Yandex droppers encryption, and you'll see lots of offers. If you have a file you will use to infect your client, you need to protect it first. You ask the guys, they encrypt it. It works for a while in a normal way. The antivirus doesn't see it. And if detection happens later, here we need to find special services which have to check the files somehow. Before that, people cannot use public services. Do you know Virus Total public service? Everybody knows. This service makes it possible to download files via web interface to see how antivirus industry treats the file, what scan engines can scan and detect these files, and so on. If some perpetrators try to download this file for testing, these files should be delivered to the whole antivirus industry, so the file will be detected. I'm saying that bad guys shouldn't upload these files onto public servers like Virus Total. They need their own resources for this, and for this there are organized groups having being data centers in which there was antivirus software installed, simple ones, and using certain scripts, they test viruses, but the files do not go to antivirus producers because they don't see them. And now, based on my practice, there is one of major servers processing several hundreds of files per minute scanned for you. We are studying the work of the server, and we have interesting results. It's a mass business, and it's a real challenge to antivirus industry. Because they test the system illegally using our products, and this helps them to fight against us. On the other hand, we as antivirus vendors see how our products are tested in some unknown gates, making 15 inquiries per minute from very cloud solutions. We know about this. What I want to say by this?
Индустрия идет на шаг вперед, underground-индустрия. Они проверяют не только файлы.
The industry is a step ahead of the underground industry. The industry detects the files uploaded and the file names. If they know there are Google blacklists, you can easily find, and there are blacklists of antivirus companies, and they check binary files, IP addresses, domain names to detect or to see some of them in blacklists. This is one of screenshots. This is a screenshot of one of services. Let me read it to you. The majority of antivirus vendors are mentioned here. I can give you a full screenshot and you'll see. There are the latest versions of scan engines, and others are included in the stop list. These are the latest versions of products used for scanning binary files. People selling such services to scan binary files to see whether antivirus can detect these files. These people, these companies investing money into this testing, and they go hand in hand following the latest developments of VirusTotal and others. These services are not free of charge. People pay for decryption and detection and so on, but it doesn't cost that much. You'll see the prices. It's around $100 per month. But this guarantees that your file is being tested once every 24 hours to see whether it can be detected by antivirus or not. And if it's detected by a number of major antivirus systems, these services automatically decrypt your file, and your file will be linked to your resource so that exploit kit can break into the client's data and make your machine impenetrable. The services, they have never been very expensive. That's why the price has always been more or less the same for several years. In 2008, there were some resources with limited resources, while now the systems make it possible to verify masses of files, producing results in various formats, results that can be automatically analyzed, and they can make conclusions based on this. Harvest. How can we harvest? in
Это
bot
было около
networks.
$100 для сбора
You have
сети,
already
покупки конструктора,
spent, say,
для
$300
покупки
to
VPN-сервера,
buy the exploit
хотите
kits,
монетизировать. И для
to build an
монетизации
IP service, and
необходимо
so
работать с
on.
вашей бот-сетью по извлечению прибыли из нее. Вот различные способы. Например,
Now
вы
you
можете
need to
свою
make money on
использовать
your
сеть для
botnet.
DDoS-атак.
You can use it for
Но
Windows
на сегодняшний
attacks.
день DDoS-атаки очень дешевые, и в принципе не
But
всем
attacks are
интересно,
very
как было
cheap
сказано пару лет
now,
назад.
and it's
Они
not as it used to
существуют,
be a few
они
years
возможно
ago.
заказать и
Yes,
использовать,
you
но
can order such
они не
attacks, you
приносят
can
таких больших денег.
use them, but
Также
it
можно
doesn't
использовать
really yield
бот-сеть,
that much
скажем,
money.
для
Or you can use your
накручивания
botnet
трафика на определенный веб-сайт.
for
Тоже
increasing
очень
traffic
делают,
to
но опять же
certain
не приносит таких
websites.
больших результатов.
It doesn't
Как правило,
really
бот-сети используются в различных комбинациях,
yield some
но
big
я затрону
results.
сегодня комбинацию использования бот-сети для DDoS.
And I would say now about the use of network for DDoS and for theft of bank data
Что я
of
хочу
clients
сказать?
of
Мы
bot
упомянули с
network.
вами, что мы используем
We use Zeus botnet.
Zeus, потом. Zeus был разработан
Zeus
и
was
использовался
developed
все эти годы
and was used all these years to steal money, steal credit cards, I mean in online banking area it
В
was
нашем случае
used.
тоже исключение.
And in our case it's also the same.
Моментом построения любой бот-сети
An
является
important
таргетирование ее против определенной группы людей. То есть, если вы
moment
собираетесь
when
бот-сеть,
building a
скажем, в
botnet,
России, на российских
for
клиентах,
instance in
вы
Russia,
должны знать,
if
что
you
в принципе эти клиенты ходят только по российским банкам.
do so, you need to know that these clients will go to Russian banks only, so you'll be able to work only with Russian banks. To my mind, the Russian banking system is well protected on the one hand, but on the other side, in online banking, Russian banks are not active, not like in the US or in European
То есть в этом
countries anyway.
случае люди, которые
So
создают сети,
people
они должны это иметь в виду.
building with
И,
botnet should remember this.
естественно, модули, которые
And
будут
modules
заливаться на
that will be
бот-сеть ваших клиентов, они тоже адаптированы под определенные
injected
цели,
into the
определенные
botnet
регионы.
should also be
Скажем,
adapted
в
for
нашем
certain
случае мы возьмем, что
goals
бот-сеть
and
находится в
regions.
Штатах Америки.
Our botnet will
Мы
be
будем
built
давать
in
американскую
the United
систему,
States and will
американский
attack
банк. Естественно,
American
мы для
banks.
этого
We
готовы
can buy for this
модуль,
a
который будет
ready-made
инжектировать,
module
страницы клиентов
that will
и
inject the customer pages and steal CCV numbers, PIN codes, and whatever.
Для этого нам достаточно купить готовый модуль, установить его на наших
And for
клиентах
this,
и начать получать данные. Данные
we need
в
to
виде
buy a
видео,
ready-made module
данные
and
в виде
start
логинов,
retrieving
паролей
data,
для онлайн-банкинга
credit
и
card
всего
data,
остального.
logins,
Я
passwords, and so
рассказываю
on for
вам
online
этот
banking.
момент
I'm
довольно
telling you
большом
about
режиме,
this in
потому
a
что
very
на самом деле
simplified
модули
note,
довольно сложны,
but these modules are
они
quite
сложны
complex. They
и
are
они,
difficult to
возможны в
write,
настройках. Допустим,
and
мой коллега
my colleague from our
исследователь
US office made a research and made a very interesting publication. I can tell you where you can download it. He was researching the special language of programming for such activities. It makes it possible to show a client a different status of the client's account depending how much money you withdraw from the account. For instance, I have $5,000 in my account. I pay for gas, utilities bills. I have $4,000 left. But the network can withdraw, say, $500 a month from my account. But every time I go to Chase online service, I will see in my account the balance I think I need to have it. But when I insert my credit card in the slot at the filling station and it comes back because it's in overdraft already, even though this morning I saw in online banking and I even had a printout showing that I have money there. I go to the bank office. The office clerk is real surprised because he says there is no money at all in my bank card. So there are different cases like this, and what I'm telling you is only simplified of what people do to scan
Стандартный
to
инжект кит стоит
make such
около
foods. A standard inject kit is about $90, which isn't that much.
Но это самый простейший вариант.
And again, this is the
Более
simplest
сложный
one.
вариант с программингом,
The ones with programming, with real-time cheating, cost more. But $90 is enough for a start and at least see the payback of the money you invest. And again, it's not that simple to get back the money you invested. First, you have to monetize. After you receive the credit card, you'll have to monetize the money, but that's a different story, not for my presentation. Again, important thing, 24 hours a day support. If you don't know how to do that, if you need assistance, if you need somebody to calm you down, somebody to tell you what mistakes you've made, that's very important, that's very precious. Because this morning at the round table, there was a guy, Sergey, from Anti-Chat RU websites. This is one of my favorite websites from which we get precious information. I was surprised to hear that they never ever now publish any data on theft of credit cards and such fraud traffic. If somebody is interested and wants to build a botnet, he can go to antichat.ru and he can build a botnet he wants, and a working botnet. Unfortunately, it will work. Well, luckily, we will have enough business for our lifetime as antivirus companies then. And when we see what happens to our WebMoney account or other account which we use for payment of the kits and others, we can see monthly costs and one-time costs. Monthly costs are about $225 to $250. Plus, we need to have around $370 as one-time cost to start our business. You see, you don't need to have much money. You don't even need to have any knowledge. You need to have a little time and a certain will to do so. You have to spend little time to investigate without any going into details how it works, how it can be done. Then you go to websites like Anti-Chat.ru or Zlo.org or Damage Lab and others. And what I wanted to say by this, to end my presentation, business, underground business included, every year, every 5 years, it gets simpler and more accessible. It doesn't matter what efforts antivirus vendors say that everything is changing, no matter what underground activists say, everything is still the same. Zeus has been in the market for so many years, it's still available, it's still active. And if somebody tells you that botnets, this is yesterday, it's over, botnets are changing, no, they aren't. Having $600, you can easily start making money. And it will be next to impossible to catch you. Your questions, please.
Пожалуйста. Смотря какие.
No, depends.
Конкретизируйте свой вопрос, а вопрос.
Specify your question, I'll try to answer it.
Какой страны?
Which country?
Загрузки китайские стоят довольно-таки недорого, но
No, they are not expensive.
я хотел подчеркнуть, что работа с китайским рынком.
But working with the Chinese market is always an issue. Because if you need, well, let me explain for the audience. If you infect a client's hardware in China, you'll have to monetize this somehow, which means that you need to install an injector into the hardware, and then you have to have online banking, but in China, online banking isn't as common as in Europe or US. But the Chinese system was about $50 per 1,000 of successful downloads. It's $5 to $6 only. Yeah, it's 10 times less expensive. Let me repeat the question so that everybody could hear. What language do you use to program injectors to change the account status in online banking? It's ASP or APS language, but it has nothing to do to JavaScript or other programming languages. It's a script which is based on injector itself. You just show the configuration and the type of language. It's not a language like the common programming language. It just has some scripts you can use for these purposes. Thank you very much for your interesting presentation. My first question is, you mentioned Russian Business Network. There are rumors that there is a second part already available. What do you think about it? Well, my opinion about the first part was quite mixed, because the facts that were quoted didn't seem quite trustworthy. But first Russian Business Network, which is based in St. Petersburg, I guess, I think that they just aggregated the facts, because the network was in St. Petersburg, but connections between people involved in different activities, there was no connection between them. As to the second net, I haven't seen it myself. I have heard a few times about it, and talking to my colleagues in the lobbies, we came to a conclusion that probably somebody's trying to drive on the old good name of Russian Business Network to unite some resources, and for a simpler description of it in the mass media probably. So you think it doesn't exist? You know, I think it is not a successor of the old notorious Russian Business Network, which existed a few years ago. And we have another question about consequences. Do you think in a few years the consequences of botnet construction will be strong? And how will we be able to combat this? I saw a speech by Evgeny Kaspersky not long ago. He said that he was for internet passports, so that there is no anonymity in internet. How can we reach this? How do you think we can reduce the amount of crime, of cybercrime? Well, I don't agree with Evgeny Kaspersky, actually. Internet passports won't help. Like Android phone proposal. Many people thought that the system will be good and successful, and nothing helped. Nothing helped. Authorize download of APK from non-authorized resources. You see what happens now. So the situation, I don't believe, will change soon. Even if you develop these passports, this business will continue for some time at least, until the very principles of software development change. A year, 5 years, 5 years, you can live without being afraid of any changes. Those who sell these services will have a happy life for at least 5 years.
Представьте, пожалуйста.
Introduce yourself, please. Mikhail Barshov. I have a question. Have you come across facts of sales of vulnerability at some hostings? And what's the difference in price in Russian hostings and some foreign ones?
Уязвимости на хостинге еще раз.
Sales of vulnerabilities on hostings. There are rumors that some people sell vulnerabilities both in Russian host. You mean in forums
На форуме.
of hostings? Yeah, I mean information is disseminated at closed forums, and these vulnerabilities make it possible to get access to hostings. Well, you can find such information on underground forums. It's open source intelligence data. These data you saw in my presentation that were only taken from open source, and I have no right to give you any data from underground resources, but I have seen prices in such resources, prices for vulnerabilities which make it possible to change access to hosting servers. But there is no difference between Russian and foreign prices, the same prices. What's the price range approximately? You mean vulnerabilities like SSCH protocols and something like that can go up to hundreds of thousands of dollars, because this is 0 day, if this is what you mean. Yes, sort of. Or SQL. Oh, if you want, for instance, access to a machine when it's hacked. Is that what you mean? If it's VPS or hardware, well, it's difficult to discern. Usually VPS is usually sold. Access to hardware is often sold. Access to Windows servers is more often sold than access to Linux servers, by the way. And the price is surprisingly low. Access to Russian servers is sold at $2-3 per machine, or 10 to 15 machines, depends where the hosting is, where the hardware is, and how it will be used. No, there were cases with SSH as well. $1 or $2. Okay, let me repeat the question to the audience. The question is how much is getting access to a server at a hoster's hardware. I've seen such sales, not many of them, and the price is between $2 to $20, depending on the hardware type and where it's located. Second question was, why so cheap? Because it's easier to get access to a server without looking for other hostings. But these hardwares are very quickly closed, the quality is low, and the forums very often discuss how you can check whether the hardware is accessible or not. But there is another scam when you ask to try to get access, you get access and you disappear without buying it. I'm from Lvov, Ukraine. My question is, you as a representative of antivirus vendor, you have advertised a lot the resources which are meant to buy exploit kits. You said that it's cheap, it's nice, nobody will catch you. What was the main purpose of your presentation, since you are an antivirus expert? Was your goal to attract more people to these underground sites controlled by some law enforcement agencies, or what? What's the purpose of your presentation? What's the use of it? Answering your question, let me say that we see it all and we know it all. We know about these activities. Somebody thinks that I have a VPN access, I have a server, everything works. It's not true. We know it all. We see it all. We know the prices. viruses. We know these people in the face. We have caught many of them in Russia, not in Russia, using police. We collaborate with police as well. This presentation is meant to show to the audience that antivirus developers know the market, know the underground trends. They get any kind of information about the latest trends. We know it all about everything, and that's important. Where was it in your presentation? Well, it's a pity if you didn't see it. It was all in my presentation. Prices, technologies, relations of how this works. Oh, I don't see it here. I don't see any proof. What information do you personally want? I didn't see it. Specify your question. You said that you know people in person, that you can catch people of Hokondeli. I know that you work with law enforcement agencies, but where is the statistics? How many bad guys have you caught? Okay, I can tell you, we have a database. We have all 4 underground forms. More than 12,000 cases are in this database. We know their nicknames, email addresses, and correlation updated. I know 7,000 people in my database. As soon as any incident happens, governmental bodies address me, I can tell them what the bad guy has been doing for several years. That's my answer to we know it all. It's a pity I didn't see it in your presentation. I can't show you everything we know in this presentation. Hi, my name is Sergei Zhukov. I'd like to ask you for one thing. You said that you follow the latest trends. Why were you surprised that this chapter of anti-chat forum is closed? I've been there. It wasn't a surprise, but you said that surprisingly. Sergei said it. Yes, I was surprised that Sergei announced it. I was surprised that there do not exist any things like that at anti-chat, that there is a group that spinned off from them, R-Dot, and that anti-chat is now clean and clear, which isn't true yet. Second question. Can you tell me coordinates of somebody where I can buy at $600 botnet kit with inject and everything? Where can I buy a botnet for Zeus with inject? You can assemble it with inject for Chase. Do you know the cost of backhaul? Yes. Is it somehow included in $600? You can lease it. You don't have to buy it, and how much will it be? I didn't show you the black hole, I showed you other prices. You gave us the price of assembly of botnets, but you saw the exploit kit. It was different. Thank you. Hi, Sergey. Hi, Maxim. I represent anti-chat. Maxim, probably let me add something to your answer. I said we don't have carding, and we had no carding, and we don't have it. And what about sales? No, it's not in our chat, anti-chat. It's Mother Hack and others, but not in our. What about guarantors? No, that's tribal things. That's not. Okay, then I retrieve what I said about anti-chat. I withdraw my comment about anti-chat. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm Igor from Omsk. You spoke about cryptographic services. Within how much time our crypted file will go into your databases to be analyzed as virus? What organization do you represent that you get crypted files? It doesn't matter. You said there are public services like VirusTotal, yeah? So we sell them an injector file. They check it. They don't detect any viruses. Do they manually detect it, or is it automatically being detected? Okay, I can tell you the principle of virus total. They have a virtualized hardware with antiviral software of various vendors. They take your file, which you inject, and they give it to these antivirus systems to check. And then they collect statistics. Some antivirus systems detected your file, the others didn't. The others don't even pay attention to whether it was injected or not. What time it takes to get into the system? A few hours, I guess. And then the antivirus vendors, antivirus companies, they process these files, and again, after trying to detect viruses, they try various methods of file processing in order to detect viruses. And one more question. How much do you collaborate with social media? I mean in terms of getting data of a particular person for some inquiry. At least in my activities, this isn't included. If any investigation is on, we usually use only open source data from social media. In principle, that's quite enough. Mainly, that's quite enough for our purposes. Other questions, please? Stanislav wants to know about the latest methods used for cheating bank clients in online banking systems. I really don't know, maybe, but the main methods are when you get one-time passwords in mail, in E10 by SMS, which is used for your authorization. And what else? If we talk about short messages, if you mention Android, where short messages can be either faked or data are being stolen, there are people sitting in real time and that do money transfers. For instance, you are trying to make a transaction. You get a short message on your phone. Why are botnets used and injectors? This is to steal credit cards. You go into your bank login password, and instead of this, a person gets a short message asking you to enter your PIN code, your credit card number, and so on. Our bank is doing a check, and so on. The person does it, and the data are gone. That's the simplest thing. But if they don't have any PIN codes, if they don't have the card number, but a person can pay for something in e-commerce using your credit card data. No, you confused the question. One-time passwords, I already mentioned them. For instance, you go to the website, online banking website, you get a short message on your phone. You mean how we can they can bypass the paper list of passwords? It's more difficult, but when you enter the for instance, Commerzbank in Germany, they have paper-based PIN tags. You go to the website, you try to make a transaction, you see 4 figures, you have to find them in a paper you got by mail a month ago. You have to put 4 figures next to 4 figures there. These figures, they don't go to a bank, but to somebody who is doing a transaction. People sitting online, receiving the figures you enter. You don't see that because Injector is showing you a completely different picture. You think these figures are entered into the bank system, but they are not. Does it answer your question? Any other questions, please? Welcome. Maxim, tell us about combating development of botnets. Maybe somebody from your presentation thought that you are promoting starting such a career. Maybe you can tell us about successful collaboration with law enforcement agencies in finding such bad guys. Okay. Well, you know, talking about my presentation, I should have told you that this presentation isn't educational in terms of building botnets. I just meant to show that we have information which is useful for us and for you, and also for you to see the scope of underground business now. Talking about successful collaboration with law enforcement agencies, we constantly collaborate with them, but I'm not authorized to give you any information. Since I have lots of information, I cannot be always sure that the information has already been used or not, but I can tell you that we do collaborate. Other questions, please? Hi, Maxim, and my name is Pavel. Apart from injections, also traffic sales services are used for delivery of malware. Oh, that's a separate big topic. I can give you a very short answer. 2 years ago, I published a big paper on traffic distribution systems, what software exists, what trends, types of traffic, and so on. You can see it in that publication. I can give you a link to my publication, but in brief, I can tell you that traffic is the driver of underground business. Without traffic, there is no business, there is no infection. There is different quality of traffic, and the more traffic, the more people get infected. Traffic is distributed between different countries, and traffic distribution principle also matters. And now, the most important specific feature of building botnet business is traffic distribution. Botnets are built on a targeted basis, country by country, or language by language. In Russia, for instance, a good example. In Russia, there were lots of blackmailers with short messages, and even now you come across them. It was discussed even in the government. But if you infect clients in the United States, if you do the same thing, you will not be able to read your short messages, and they will not be able to answer your short message because the short numbers are used only for Russia. I'll ask you for the link to your publication. Okay. Other questions, please? That's a good question. Why short message blackmailing became popular in Russia? Not only in Russia, actually. This is a question to our mobile operators and gateways selling these short numbers. I never came across short message blackmailers and extorters elsewhere but in Russia. It's a Russian trend and only in Russian. Investigation is difficult to make. People usually don't file a lawsuit because the amount of money lost isn't very big, and all this actually hinders law enforcement agencies' efficiency. And yet the number of cases is big, the work is very minutious, usually the money immediately goes to offshore accounts, because the money goes from these short numbers via gates to other countries, and it's difficult to trace them. Why they work? What the question is? You know, I always ask the same question to myself. Probably somebody's interested. Usually, mobile operators make a good money on short numbers, advertising various chats, acquaintance services, and so on. Unfortunately, no, I never said that telecom operators can be an interested party in such a fraud. If we have representatives of telecom operators, you don't misunderstand me. Other questions, please. Hi, my name is Dmitry. Hi. If today I want to build a botnet, how lucrative will it be? Depends on you, depends on your talent. I'll tell you why it depends on you. When you build a botnet, your talent will be maximized when you start monetizing your botnet, because if you create it, it means nothing, even though somebody disagreed with me, because building a botnet isn't difficult. The question is how to monetize it, how to make it work and bring you money, and it all depends on you. It's all up to you. If you have good contacts with people when selling, when buying traffic, when selling information, you got from botnet clients, it all depends on your talent. But now you said there are two main ways: DDoS and inject. DDoS and inject. Spam as well. If now we speak about theft of personal data from computers, I can't tell you exactly the names of botnets, but there is a trend that there are modules for botnets scanning hardware for MS Word documents and upload them to a CNC server to analyze. That's a great way to search for confidential data on your client's hardware. Okay, and if, for example, we take 6 months period, is it possible to make some profit in 6 months? And how risky is it? It is risky. On one hand, I said that we know a lot about the underground business, but on the other hand, let me tell some guys, when I said that we see everything and know everything, actually we see only things we are allowed to see. But if the bad guys are clever, talented, and know how to control hardware, probably we will not even see that. We know only the botnets we have researched. We see the activities that have been detected. We do not see the things we are not allowed to see by owners of malware. So I'm very grateful to people coming and installing botnets at $600 or having no knowledge of CNC server configuration. Then we can see that, and we can use default logins and see how it all works. It all depends on your talent. So it's not that risky. If you take bulletproof system. Yes, if you make your private botnet, if it's not based on certain kits, it'll be a completely different thing. So to detect your botnet, we'll need to invest special effort. And again, we need to know that it exists to look for it. Other questions, please? You advertise very much bulletproof hosting. Where are you? Raise your hand, please. My name is Ksenia. Hi. You advertise the range of bulletproof hostings. Is there a way to put pressure on such hostings? I did not advertise it. I told you about that. I'm sorry you thought that I was advertising it. Honestly, there are methods of influencing them. You should remember that that bulletproof hostings, and many people can confirm it, they are based on major hostings. These are VPS machines which are leased, and these machines are installed on physical hardware. There are ways to detect them, but again, they too can be closed, turned off, and so on. It takes much more time than that. You have to spend more effort to close a bulletproof server. It's much more difficult and longer than closing a common server. It's difficult because you start contacting the owner of the server, the owner does not respond. If you see the domain name and activity, you try to get in touch with him via the domain name, but the data are usually fake. You are trying to go up, you are trying to talk to hosting owners distributing these VPS servers. They say that there are no data. Usually nobody responds. The data are fake and you don't see traces. It works, but it's real hard work. There is no shorter way, no shorter way. Well, the shortest way is to use, well, I'm not advertising it. The shortest way is to use antivirus software with blacklisting of these IP domains and addresses. Other questions, please? Yes, sir? You know, as to statistics, no, I don't have the statistics. I can only guess, but I'm not sure these figures will be accurate. It will be just my guess, just my gut feeling. Yeah, I'm not even going to name you some figures because somebody will jump up and start screaming, do you know how much an exploit kit like this or like that costs? This isn't possible. No, I'm not going to give you any figures. But as to your second question, what was it? But again, these can be partner links to clicks when you monetize it because somebody visits it via banner. But there are also other options. Pay-per-install. For instance, pay-per-install where people pay for infecting clients' hardware. If you talk about traffic, that's a completely different topic. If interested, approach me and I'll tell you something more about it. In botnets, you mean? No, you mean spam? Oh, it's very good for monetization. DDoS as well makes money. Unfortunately, there is my good friend who could tell you about DDoS. He is not here, but the main source of making money is everything around credit cards, bank fraud, and so on, or SMS, short message fraudsters. Yeah, people very well earn money on this. It's quite easy to upload a binary code and it will work perfectly well. But there are different qualities of botnets. There are botnets existing for long, and people don't have any big activity on client hardware, if you get short message from blackmailer, and then you can lose the clients. There are different methods. Other questions, please?
Пожалуйста. Последние 3 вопроса. А почему вы думаете, что SORM будет действовать где-нибудь, не знаю, в Сингапуре?
Now, why do you think it's going to be applicable somewhere in Singapore?
Это был плохой пример.
I'm sorry, that was a bad example.
Ну, что вам сказать? Все легко, в принципе, в теории, когда сталкиваешься с практикой, все
Everything is
совершенно
so easy, only in theory.
занимает время, и когда
In practice, things turn out to be much more difficult. When people see their IP lists blacklisted, IP addresses blacklisted, now they start relocating, they start spoofing.
Конечно. Второй вопрос от конца, пожалуйста.
Okay, this will be a penultimate question.
Да? Пожалуйста.
Oh, we got already.
Большое спасибо за внимание.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your attention. It's been a pleasure working with you. If you have other questions, please talk to me privately. Thank you.